Hi, everyone. It's Kelly from the Hub here today, of course, with our friend Pastor Jim. How are you there?
Oh, good morning. It's Tuesday.
Uh, uh,
The nice day. Oh my gosh, they're talking of temperatures near 60 today and
whatever,
70 tomorrow.
whatever. There's still snow on the
I know.
ground, man.
True.
Okay,
True.
so um, Pastor Jim and I, let's just get it out there. Pastor Jim and I have had a rough week. We've had a rough morning. We are, okay, how about this? Let's just show them how we really feel, shall we?
Okay, are you
Okay,
ready?
here we go. This is how both of us feel right now. Ready? Go. Yep, that's it. That's how we feel. So, that was quite beautiful, and hopefully that's the still that goes on so that everybody can see us looking like fools. But it's because that actually was really therapeutic. If you haven't done that in a bit, you should
Oh, that was
try.
really well.
Yeah. We are we have to talk about honesty. It's
Honesty.
I know I want to sing the song,
I-
but that might put us in another land. But so it's on. I think in our pre-conversation, this is honesty can be really difficult for some people, and I think we wanted to just sort of explore that. Like, why is it hard for some people to be honest? I think some of it's cultural, some of it's well, there's a lot of reasons, and we can talk about that.
Some of it's nurtured, how you're brought up.
Yeah, I think that it's also just hard for some people to do that. It's easier because I think when you're honest, you're vulnerable, and a lot of people don't want to be vulnerable. Um, but the ramifications of people that you're with, whether it's your spouse, coworkers, team members, whatever, congregants, neighbors, it doesn't matter.
Any group that you are a part of.
Yeah.
Whenever you are with at least one other person.
Right. If the ramifications of you not being honest means your relationship isn't authentic. So
I think,
let's just talk about it.
yeah.
So
As,
like
as I'm hearing, as I'm hearing you say that, Kelly,
yeah.
and this we did not talk about before, is I I think we also need to explain that there's a difference between honesty and truth. They are
Okay,
different.
you do that. You do
They
that.
are thanks.
You do that.
They are different, but my truth may not be your truth.
Right.
In other words, we may have a different sense of a particular subject matter. We may be coming at it from different ways, but I need to be honest about what I experience with that,
Right.
what I have experienced with that particular situation. And the same with you. You need to be able to be honest with how you experience that same situation. I'm thinking of things that you and I might be in the same organization together,
Right.
and we may walk away with different understandings and different truths. But we need
Absolutely.
to be but we need to be honest with each other about where I feel.
Right.
And I think one of the things that also gets us in trouble, again, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about this,
Oh, feel free.
this is on the fly. Something that I learned in my therapy sessions 15 years ago is that we need to practice, people need to practice using I statements,
Tell me
because
how that
that shows
works.
because that shares your honesty, that shares your truth. So, in other words, I experienced XYZ in this conversation in that meeting.
Or I
That
felt
was my
heard.
experience.
You could say,
Or
I
I
felt
felt
heard
heard.
when you, can I say, when you said
Exactly.
I was mean. Because you're
Exactly.
not lashing out at them, you're just telling them how you feel.
Exactly. Exactly. And too often, and I hope that I'm better at this than I was 20 years ago. You know, you've heard, I know we've all heard and done this. Well, people say that, and that becomes the honest truth.
Yeah.
And it's not. No, it's not.
Right.
It's nobody's truth.
Right.
It's nobody's truth.
Right.
And I think when we begin to use our I statements, then I think we have a better way of our truth and our honesty being validated.
Yeah.
And in that same sense, that vulnerability that happens because of being honest can be lived more fully, and it's not as can't think of a right word, but it's not as hurtful. It's not as, it can be received in a way that,
Yes.
okay, we can move through this.
Right.
And we can move.
Right. Right. Because honesty doesn't mean that you're fat. I hate you because you have blue eyes. You pick your nose. You fart in public. That's not, I mean, hey, man, like that's not, I mean, yes, you're being honest, but
Being honest.
are any of those things necessary? So I think that some people are like, well, I was honest. Okay. Honesty doesn't come with like anger and all that other stuff. And I think that it's
Honesty comes from right here.
right. And you're being vulnerable when you are honest about those, when you're honest. And that you never want to hurt someone. That's never the intent. Sometimes, however, what you say when you're honest may be received as hurtful.
Because sometimes it's hard to hear honesty. It's hard to hear and receive someone's honest thoughts.
It's because you're not, well, truly, it's because you're not perfect. If you were perfect, whatever somebody said would be like, oh yeah, whatever. But if it hurts, that means there's something inside of you that you probably need to look at and toss it around a little bit with yourself.
Which becomes another subject, because when we hear that kind of stuff, that is hard to deal with. Because I'm guilty of, for many years of my life, of taking that kind of stuff very personally. And
Yeah, me too.
It was never intended to hurt, but in some way it did, and I allowed it to continue to fester and to make my life miserable, quite frankly.
Yeah, you have to, so if someone said to me, Kelly, you are a bad leader, I would have to say, talk to me about what that means. Because are they saying those words because of something I did? Or are they saying those words because of something I said? Are they saying those words because they're jealous? Are they saying those words? You know what I mean? And that's just the one example. But you have to really think about when someone says something to you, where do those words come from them? And I got to say, it's all fine and dandy to be sitting here having a chitty chit chat about it. But when you're in the heat of that moment and someone's like, whatever, you're fat, you go, and you want to take all of your claws and you want to dig in. Because that's that little part of your brain called the amygdala. That's your fight or flight. That's where you go right there. And you have to teach yourself, use the front part. That's all about the thinking, and be with them for a minute.
You said something there that that caught me, is like something that I find myself doing a lot. And I think it is very helpful when I practice it. And I can be honest that most of the people that I practice it on are like, ah, because as you said, you know, someone says something to you and your response was something along the lines of like, well, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
So true confessions. When someone says to me, as a preacher, as a pastor, that was a really good sermon, Pastor Jim, my response usually is, oh, well, thank you. What did you hear? What did you learn? Oh, Pastor Jim, you always ask those questions. But that's part of it. That's part of it. And our honesty, is our honesty authentic? Is it authentic to who we are?
Right.
And what does it mean?
Right. That's not to say that your congregant should have come up to you and said, you know, Pastor Jim, second paragraph, fourth reference in Matthew, dude, way off. I mean, that's not what, that's all, because I know that there are people who are like the super nitpickers, and God bless them, because they're the ones who find the wrong zero in a whole list of figures. They're those people. Yep. And we need those people times a million. But we're not talking about nitpicking. That's not what this is about either. That's not honesty. That's just.
I believe that honesty helps us to grow more fully into who we really are.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's another kind of personality trait that we have both experienced that's showing up a lot now. I think a lot of it is due to COVID. I do. I think some of us are just like, oh, I've been in my house too long. Yeah, you're up to there. Yeah, I'm trying to get a vaccine. I can't get a vaccine. I'm sick, that I got money, whatever the stuff is. That it's the personality that won't say anything. And then you hear about all of the comments, third, second, fourth hand, whatever that is. And I know that if that person if they were confronted by whoever they said something to, they'll be like, well, I was just being honest. Okay, you weren't. You're not being honest by doing that. If you're in a place and you want to talk about something, talk about it. That's honest, because you're sharing.
Talk about it now. Don't let it fester.
Right, because bringing up the comments later is festering, is now gossiping, is now probably not very kind. Just talk about it.
But I don't want to ruin your day.
You're not ruining my day.
You're not ruining the day. If anything, you're going to lift it up.
Right, because
you lift it up by saying your honest feelings and where you are.
Because change is hard, man. Right. Change comes through honesty. You can't make change on nothing. Your comment that you kept and that you jibber jabbered about could have been the thing that solidified or changed or wrecked or whatever what we were talking about. But we needed that.
Exactly. And you used another word a little bit ago too. It was confrontation. We're afraid of confrontation. Everybody is afraid of confrontation. I don't care who you are. Nobody likes confrontation.
Right. And I think we should never use that word. We cannot use that word because that's not what it is. No one's like, yeah, I want to fight you right now. Nobody says that. What you're doing is speaking.
Speaking your from your honest, true, authentic self.
You're not confronting people. You're not confronting me. You are saying it. Say it. So a very good friend of mine doesn't like to say it because this person thinks that they're going to hurt, that what's going to come out is hurtful. And I'm like, I would rather have you say it than I know than have you not say it because it may or may not. I might need to learn from that. You got to get it out of you. Say it. Okay, so then everyone's like, well, I don't have time. Don't get me. Time
Don't even go down that road.
Go down the path. Time, you choose your time. Nobody has time, man. Nobody.
And by the way, and if you choose to wait, you're usually too late.
Right. Time is about that. Right. You choose it. You choose your time. If someone's like, I don't have time to go see my mom. You do. You're choosing to do other things. I'm not saying I'm being self-righteous about it. I've done the same stuff. We've all done the same things. I don't have time to whatever, rake the leaves. Yeah. You know why? Because I don't want to.
Want to do, yep.
It has nothing to do with time. It's that I don't want to. It's just, I need to be honest and say,
you're not going to make me do it either.
Right. Right. I don't have time. You do have time. See, okay, we're being so honest. Everybody who knows us is going to be like, girl, I got some honesty.
I'm working up a sweat, to be honest. Well, so I do think it's important that we did talk about this today, Kelly, because and I will be honest, a lot of it is COVID stress, like we said earlier.
It is.
Our world has been turned upside down, inside out, shoved in so many different ways that it's hard to even think about what I'm honest about with this COVID stuff.
Well, I mean,
because
there's
so many variables, as many people as there are, add 100 variables to each one of those people. And it's like,
one of those major honesties is that, like, keeping it together is rough. And nobody ever wants to have that conversation. Be like, oh, how are you? I'm fine. I'm so good. I'm great. I'm baking. I mean, everybody wants to be that person, right? And that's also one of the things that we chatted about before, is that I think that we avoid honesty because the superficial is easy. Which doesn't mean that when someone says, how are you, you pull out a scroll of all of the things that you need to get off your chest. Time and place, man. There's a time and a place. I mean, we all know that person who's like, well, I've got a carbuncle on my ankle and I've got that's not what we mean. It's just about you. How are you can be, man. That's you being honest. Yeah.
So I have a short story to share, but before I even share that story, I want to say to Kelly, say to you, just like to let our viewers know too, that when we came on this morning, when we first got together, it was just like,
we both did. We both had that exasperated look. We didn't even say words. We just went.
The first minute was just looking at each other and shaking our heads and like.
I think it's hilarious. We do this every week. We've been together so long. We're like brother and sister. And I just know that I can just do that. And he gets it and he can do it with me and I get it. And we both, we needed that moment just to
center ourselves.
Yeah. To be able to even speak. Tell your story.
So when we were just talking about, sharing, when someone asks, when I ask someone how they are and they say I'm fine, my anxiety goes up because it's like, no, you're hiding something. You're hiding something there.
Right. We all use that word. Yeah.
We all use that word and we do that. So this was probably about 11 years ago now, 12 years ago now. I was on my internship and the parking lot to this church was across the street. And the street was fairly busy. It was a 2-lane highway, a 2-lane street. Not a main thoroughfare, but it's a shortcut between. And one of the congregants there, a lovely woman, we started walking across the street together from the parking lot to the church building. And I say, well, how are you today? She goes, we are literally on the double yellow line. Oh, I'm fine. Do you really want to hear about my day? Oh my gosh, my knee hurts. I'm having trouble walking across the street here today. And it's like,
time and place, man. Time and place.
Time and place. We got across the street and we sat down, but do you know, she always talked whenever we saw each other after that. She goes, you took time from me in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And I said, and you took time to share.
Yeah.
In the middle of the street.
Well, and okay, that was totally a setup because this is where this all goes to. If someone wants you to be honest, it's because they care. Sometimes that's difficult because we might not want somebody to care. It can also be difficult because we didn't expect that they cared. And I also think if someone doesn't really want you to be honest, they might not really care about, they don't care about your opinion. They might not, right. They may not care about you. I'm not saying we have to spend 97 hours on 97 things. That's not what I mean. You can do these things quickly and be honest and whatever. And I get that. But if someone says, no, tell me the truth about this. I need to know what the honestness is about this. They're doing it because they care. If they didn't care, they wouldn't do it. They would just move on with their own things and you wouldn't be a part of it.
That's right.
That's the nugget of it. So if someone says to you, tell me, share, how do you really feel?
Tell them.
Do it.
Tell them. Do it. I think I have the correct Latin. Carpe diem.
Seize the day, boys. Seize the day.
Seize the moment. Seize the moment.
Knowing that it could be very challenging for you as the person who doesn't feel comfortable necessarily doing that. That's okay.
Those of us uncomfortable for the hearer, as well as the player, the speaker and the hearer. It could be. It's probably challenging for both, but do it.
And people who are good at reading other people's faces, both you and I, will see that on your face. I have said that to a million people in that moment when they're struggling. I'm like, no, no, no. I can see it's on your face. Just let it come out. Let it come out. And I get that you might not want to say it because for some people, just the saying, but write it down and hand them a note or send them a message or send them a text. I'm sorry I couldn't say this in the meeting, but here, I don't like this idea because I think that you're excluding blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. You cared enough to tell me the truth. So that's why we had to show you our feelings this morning, because we were having such funk. It was funk.
And to be honest with you all, we don't have perfect days either.
Oh no. In fact, we're going to leave this and go have a pretty imperfect day ourselves. It's just, yep. Where we will both be speakers and listeners.
And listeners, yep.
And try to be honest and be truthful and be kind, just like all of you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pastor Jim, I gotta say, I hope everybody found this as cathartic as I think both of us did.
I did.
Yeah, well,
I did.
This was not my face when I started, so.
No, and I can face the day a little bit easier now. No, a lot easier now.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, Kelly.
Absolutely. Thank you. See you, my friends.
See ya.